I'd like to just very briefly tell the story. She's born Joyce Green, a little Jewish girl in Coney Island. Her father was a vaudeville tap dancer, but he gave it up to play cards on the back alleys. And they had no money, and so she would often go off under the boardwalk where a wonderful family of black homeless people adopted her and taught her all kinds of things, like how to eat by getting the hot dogs that had been thrown away in Nathan's, etc. She grew up and she married a wonderful Sicilian man, Sal Di Fiore, and they had 3 beautiful children. And she was the saint of the Brooklyn neighborhood, and she cooked for everybody. She would cook to 40, 50 people at the time, and then if there was any food left over, she would scrape it with a big loaf of Italian bread and eat. And she got to be very fat. She got to be, well, she was about 5'6", 5'7", and she got to be 300 pounds. And she tried all kinds of ways to try to diet, and it wasn't working. So she went to Jack LaLanne. Now, I'm going to sound exactly the way she sounded. She said, "Listen, I need something you can teach me that, really, something that will help me lose weight." He said, "Oh, well, the yoga breath." "Yoga breath, what's that?" And so she learned the yoga breath. And so she would be downstairs, and Sal wanted none of it. He was watching television in bed, and she got into the lotus posture, and she couldn't get out of it. But she did, so she said, "Well, I'll do the yoga breath." She closed her eye. She did her version of the yoga breath. And she heard somebody going back and forth, dragging something, and she thought it was the dog. "Scotty, get out of here. I'm going to kill you. Stop that. I gotta do the yoga breath." Drag, 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 drag. "Scotty, I swear to God, I'm going to twist your tail." "Scotty!" And she opens her eyes. There she says, Jesus Christ, with a silly grin on his face, dragging his cross back and forth. And she said, "Get out of here. I'm Jewish. You don't want me. You want my husband Sal upstairs. He's Catholic. Now just go away." Drag, 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 drag. "Listen, you're scaring me. I know you're my hallucination. And you won't. I got to get out of here." But she can't get out of this yoga. So in this, with her, her legs akimbo, she goes bump, 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 bump upstairs, and she goes to see her husband. "Sal, Jesus Christ is downstairs, and he's looking for you, not me, because I'm Jewish." And he says, "Oh, babe," I'll clean up what he actually said. "Oh, babe, I told you not to mess with that effing yoga. Now we got to call in Father Papaduzzi to do an exorcism." "What do you mean exorcism? The man himself is downstairs." Well, Sal would have none of it, so she went to doing her yoga exercise, breathing exercises in the bathtub, and Jesus came around and gave her some lessons, and then he brought his friend. She says, suddenly this very huge man in a diaper shows up, named Karoli Baba, And so he teaches me, and then somebody else comes, and they bring, and I got to, I had a very good education, a theological education in the bathtub, because they all came along. Anyway, so she goes and she studies with Hilda Charles, an English mystic, and who finally says, "My dear, I rather suspect you're an avatar of the mother." "What do you mean, mother? I'm Joyce Di Fiore from Brooklyn." "Yeah, I'm going to send you to India." Well, of course, in India, everybody loses a great deal of weight for one reason or other. And she gets to slim down. She looks really good. But people would start falling on his, "Ma, don't call me Ma, I'm Joyce Di Fiore." Anyway, she goes back, and, I will not tell the bad part about Ram Dass. But anyway, that term. No, it's really bad. I can't tell it. And it makes a very good
Reb
man.
Shloime used to say, "I don't want to talk about bad things."
No, it's just somebody betrayed her very badly. So badly that her husband beat her up. And so she had to leave. And she taught for a while, and then in New York, and then she went down to Sebastian, Florida. And she knew the mafia, so she terrified them. They were scared to death of her, and they gave her 85 acres. And she built this extraordinary ashram, the Kashi ashram. And she invited wonderful religious, evocateurs, you were one of them, to build their shrines. And he built a synagogue there, and the Sufis built something. But she was devoted to Mother Kali. She was very much a Hindu, you know, and became very deeply learned in Hindu philosophy. But she also had a deep appreciation and relevance and reverence for all these others. So she learned their forms as well. She became a great poet because she tapped into the creative core that is going on beneath the surface crust of consciousness all the time. She became a poet, she became an artist, and she took care of people with AIDS babies, AIDS people of all kinds of things. She would dress in red leather and go into the ghettos where kids were on drugs, and she'd pull them out, and she would get them through their. She was an extraordinary woman with a real sense of the world's religions. Never stopped talking like that. Except when she did Darshan, and then suddenly she had an English accent. It was very interesting. But the glory of her was that she had a profound sense of the interdimensional, intertwining of spiritual practice and spiritual ways of being. She walked her talk. She did these kinds of things you spoke of. She was a woman of immense generosity, kindness, practical action in the world, and was one of the glories of our time. So to me, she was this revelation of who we are, where we're going, what we yet may be, as we honor and even borrow, beautifully from each other's spiritual practice, because all these practices and understandings come from hundreds and thousands of years of wisdom seekers. So yes, but then to integrate it within your own faith and to deepen your faith, while you also have the ancillary practices from others, this to me is the renaissance of spirituality on this earth at this time.
Thank you.